Welcome to Plan or Die. I'm Stepan Zechowski, founder of SkewPoint. I work with Anaplan partners who need flexible delivery capacity and with companies that want real outcomes from their Anaplan investment, not just a working model. This podcast is for Anaplan Center of Excellence leaders, Anaplan practitioners, and people accountable for enterprise planning decisions. What works, what breaks, and what usually stays unsaid. Most companies think planning is boring. In reality, it's simple. Plan properly or deal with the consequences. In each episode, I talk to people who are changing how planning works in real organizations, with wins, failures, and lessons you only get by doing the work. If something you hear resonates, reach out. Let's get into it. Jiri, last time we spoke, it took more than 5 hours. Today we'll try to shorten this to 30 to 40 minutes. No pressure. And if I interrupt you, it's not personal, it's survival. I've got another meetings lined up for the afternoon. I'm quite sure you two have something to do.
Yeah, hi Stepan. It was like probably the longest beer that I had in the last few years. So really nice to talk to you again. And I will definitely not take it personally. I know that sometimes when I start to ramble, it's really hard to stop me. So stop me anytime, but I'm super happy to be here with you.
Thanks. This won't be a product talk, and we won't go through your entire career. There's no time for that. I want to focus on planning, what planning actually changes, where it helps, where it annoys, and what most companies or companies you were working in, what they get wrong. In one sentence, how would you describe the state of planning when you step into your current role?
Well, I think that planning is quite challenging for people for quite some time. In overall, most of the organizations I have been ever working with, or even the organizations I work with right now, have troubles to really conceptualize what they think the planning is and how to work with the planning. Basically, the basic idea is usually very clear, and it's clear in every organization. You have to do some kind of prediction of the future, no matter how far ahead you are looking at, and you are looking at this situation with the constraints of the market you are living in and the size of the company you are living in. What is usually the trouble behind all this is process and repeatability of the process and ability to capture the learnings about your market and about your process that you gained along the way. Mm-hmm. And I think all the organizations I have been working with are struggling with this still, but thanks to the tools like Anaplan and others, they are getting into the little bit better situation than they were in the past.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I wanted you on the podcast is because of your diverse perspective, diverse background. You've seen planning from multiple angles, science, you are a PhD in chemistry, consulting, technology, and now plenty of years working as a global CoE leader and IT director in Edwards Life Sciences. And that gives you the perspective, the width and depth of experience most people don't have. Do you agree, or would you frame your perspective differently?
I think this is giving me like a little bit of variability, and this is giving me ability to see the reality from like different point of views at once, and I can shift between these point of views. When I'm working on any planning case or any future situation, I know a little bit better than people who are sitting only in one of these chairs. What are the constraints they are not seeing? Because in any situation you see only what you know, and all the other things you are blind to. When I started as a consultant, my big blind spot actually was, and I can see it when I'm working with some of the consulting companies, is life of the application and is life of the process. They are extremely strong in monitoring the current situation and with creation of sometimes a little bit better, sometimes much better situation. But living with the product is something what is being omitted because this is something what is very much in the background.
But nevertheless, you still do work with consultants. You
Yeah,
just
and
need to be
still,
aware of their
yeah,
blind spots.
exactly. You just have to be aware of the blind spots, and you have to be aware that they will leave your company one day, and you have to make sure that whatever they created is working as efficiently as possible. On the other hand, I was a client of the consultants on the side of planning when I was, for example, working in my previous jobs, and my big blind spot was in some cases really the breadth of knowledge that is coming from different industries. And I was very much experienced in the way how our company was doing things, but sometimes I was not really aware of the different viewpoints. And right now, when I'm sitting in the role of plan to perform partner in AdWords, and I'm responsible for Anaplan CoE, I can see different point of situation. Like my work is connected to make sure that these use cases are created efficiently, and that's why I'm working with consultants, that they are looking into much longer future than usually the stakeholders are looking at. Usually stakeholders are looking for the next planning cycle, so I have to be prepared for not only situation for the next planning cycle, but probably 3-4 years down the road, and think about the situation there. And I have to think about the situation, how we will make sure that the model is sustainable in the least amount of effort on the weekly basis and daily basis.
Yes. Consultant won't longer be with you, but the model stays for a couple of years, and your people need to deal with it. Thanks for the intro. Now let's move to the value. And I'll be direct. Anaplan is a serious investment. And I am really happy to discuss this particular topic with you because you've been on both sides, selling and implementing Anaplan as a consultant and approving and defending global IT budgets where you need to defend every euro or, in your case, every dollar. And tell me, from your perspective, what is the actual business case for Anaplan?
The reality is that there is a plethora of business cases in Anaplan. When you look only into the portfolio of the use cases that were created, it's probably like 85 families in this moment that are touching almost everything where there are any data, either qualitative or quantitative, and there is any calculation or logic behind it. So breadth of the use of the Anaplan is really wide. What is much more important, in my opinion, is to understand what is real return on investment on each of these implementation, and how to look really into the future value. On the consulting side, when we were sitting there and when we are sitting there, very often we have tendencies to really see the capabilities of the system and our capabilities in very rosy glasses, and we think that it's absolutely clear that return on investment on application like this is hundreds of %.
Last time we spoke, you had a couple of examples of where these benefits actually are. And how do you quantify also, not just when the investment is approved or decided upon, but also in the long term when you're operating these models to decide which one to keep, which one to kill. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
I think what is the most important in these cases is when I was working actually in Deloitte, there was one manager that I was working with, and he had saying that use case has ROI if you will either bring the value, bring the money with it, if you will reduce the cost, or if you will reduce the time. What I see as the biggest benefit of all the technologies is actually a combination of these three. And in Anaplan, I think the first case of the huge efficiency gain is, for example, within the planning cycle. Generally, the planning is still a very lengthy process, much longer than our current technological state would suggest. What I see as a big ROI point of Anaplan in this case is one, that you are shifting from the maintenance points that are in classical planning, which is heavily leveraged by spreadsheets. I see the big benefit that the replicability of the data and the quickness of the adjustment of the data is huge, and this is doing like a huge savings on the people time, and this is like a first level of ROI. You are basically from the processes that are, for example, taking weeks, you are creating the processes that are taking days. A huge ROI on the time, a huge ROI on the secondary level, which is quality of the discussion. You are bringing a lot of quality discussion, and you are changing the way how the thinking about the process is going. So really like several levels of improvements only by improving the process.
And there are some intangible elements also. Then, collaboration, security, things like that.
I think like security is actually a very tangible part of this, because if you are looking into every big company, we are constantly under the threat of hackers. We are constantly under the attack. Each of these companies is catching hundreds, if not thousands or tens of the thousands attacks every quarter. So if you are working with a very secured environment, the ROI is coming from opportunity that you will lose the data because of the way how people are thinking and working. In like, if you will talk to people hands on their hearts, how many of them will have switched on a VPN when they are working in the cafe? Not many, and this is something what with the basic tools creates the security issue. If you are working with something what is secured on several levels, as is Anaplan, even though they are lazy in one perspective, you are securing data in other.
You were mentioning multiple layers of business case. One was the time saving. Now we briefly touched security. Are there any other key elements of the entire business case in its complexity?
Yeah, the other things are definitely the replicability of the business case and ability to actually compare the data and compare the decisions.
Are you talking about this one macro Excel guy who owns the entire process, and
exactly,
if he leaves, the company process is breaking?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, another level is documentation connected to any use case. Generally, I will not put anyone onto the spot, but everywhere where I was working, the documentation was always a little bit of trouble. You are heavily pressured for performance, and these backbones are sometimes omitted, so the replicability of every process can be trouble. For example, in Europe, this is something, thanks to our labor law, a little bit better. One person will tell you that they will leave your company. You have a little bit of time to assign someone to learn at least parts of the job.
In the US,
When I'm working,
2 weeks notice period,
yeah.
and not even that, right?
Yeah, sometimes not even that. In some specific cases, person can literally leave the same day as they tell you that they are leaving, and in that moment you are losing huge chunks of the knowledge, and all these things are really helping the cases of these technologies like Anaplan and others.
You've seen and created plenty of business cases for Anaplan and consulting services in general. If you had to pick up one assumption that almost always is wrong, which one would you pick?
I think the biggest assumption that is always wrong is that people really assume they have everything documented and they know how they are doing things currently and how they want to do them. People generally have a hypothesis about how they are doing things and how they want to do them, but in reality, I would say in the 90% of the cases, you are not having replicable process, and this is something what is generally trouble at the beginning of any implementation, because you have to press people for information they think you don't need to have, and in my mind, like 40% of every implementation, maybe 50% of every implementation is preparation time. And sometimes when you are in these use cases, you know it from your own experience, people will generally start pressing you very quickly. Let's start build something. And if the assumptions about the processes and about their data and about their decision-making process are on the sand, or they are not really solidly thought out, you get into the troubles very quickly in every implementation.
My experience is that many of the clients do not know exactly what they want, but they will tell you after you show them that they do not want that, right? So that's why perhaps there's this need to move quickly, to implement quickly, to be able to gather this feedback before the budget expires.
I think this is maybe, or not maybe, this is definitely a right point that you are saying, and this is connected in my mind a little bit to the psychology, because people don't like to answer really hard question, which is how the process should go, and they really love to answer easier question.
People love to pin points to some mistakes, right?
Yeah,
it's easier to say what you don't like rather than describing the entire thing, how it should look like.
It's much easier to say, hey, this page doesn't feel right, than to say this process should go A, B, C, D, E. So, and because of this, because of the fact that very often people are not having enough time for preparation, and they don't have the process very often thought out in a way that they should have, they are then pinpointing exactly the things that you are saying.
And very often people are not assigned enough time for these IT implementations in general. Anaplan is no exception. People who own the business, who run the business, customers, suppliers, internal processes, this wouldn't stop just because there's an ongoing IT implementation. So would you say that the proper staffing of the project is some assumption, the assumption that it will only cost you 2 hours per week as a business user to participate in IT implementation. Would you say that's one of the assumptions that is very commonly off?
I think you are definitely spot on in this. When we are working basically on any implementation, I'm telling very frankly to people I'm working with that they can expect that they will spend 20, in some cases 30% of their time working on the implementation, and the 70% should go to their normal work, normal normal day-to-day operation.
And
But
that is a significant change if you take the standard job description
yeah,
of the person, and now that person is expected to spend 20-30% of their time supporting IT implementations. I expect when these persons were hired a few years ago, this was not a part of their job description, so it's evolving very quickly, right?
yeah, it's evolving very quickly, and I think we should start saying something different than very often IT implementations, because in the reality, these are business implementations. And only reason why historically we are saying IT implementations is the fact that you are implementing process within the IT tool, like, or more thing that is perceived as an IT tool. But we should more often than not say we are doing business transformation that is driven by some IT tool. And this is something, very often it's wording, but we are people, and wording is very important for us. And when you start framing the situation a little bit differently, when you will start talking about we are doing business implementation, not we are doing IT implementation, people very quickly change the way how they own the situation.
And the consulting fee for the services also change if you refer to it as business transformation, right?
Absolutely. Like you, everything is
You
is the
don't
frame.
outsource
Yeah.
business transformation to an offshore country.
Yeah.
You need to pay expensive local consultants, and I've seen the business transformations or projects referred to as business transformations were typically most expensive consulting projects I've seen.
Yeah, no, they are. They definitely are, and you, in the moment when you are looking into this as a business transformation, you know that you have to have people much closer to heart with whatever process approach you will take. If you will go agile, if you will create a waterfall project, if you will do anything, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, everything is about delivery and about performance of the process that you created. And it really doesn't matter whatever methodology you will use for implementation, but you have to be sure that you collected right information and that you have ownership with the right people, and that you don't end up with the situation of vague set of information sent to some offshore country, system created in the black box, shown to everyone, and everyone is unhappy. This is how very often IT implementation is perceived. We shouldn't really do this, because IT is not some independent entity that is living within this organization. IT is basically technical side of the business, and every person within IT has reason to be there to bring the value, to bring some value to customers and to stakeholders at the end of the day.
Now, Jiri, you are leading the Global Center of Excellence for Anaplan, among other functions at Edwards that you do have. I've seen two versions of Anaplan Center of Excellences. The first one is the one that submits and approves tickets. It assigns accesses, manages storage. Second one is really perceived as a business partner. They shape decision, set standards, and drive business value. Now, from what I've had the chance to learn about how you operate, I'm convinced you are the second one. And if you could explain where is the line between these two types of center of excellences, what would you say is the most significant difference point? How do the latter one operate differently?
At the end of the day, it's ownership. In when you are working with the technology as Anaplan is, and when you operate as a center of excellence, you have very often very unique viewpoint to what is business doing. And you can see very often much bigger width of operation than anyone in the business. And in the moment when you start seeing this, you can start bringing additional value that is connected to connections between different units and between different data points.
In many organizations, this impact is measured by number of tickets, right? The real impact is much harder to measure.
Real impact, like number of tickets, is something what, if you are living in any operation world, and when you are keeping any application in a CoE or in any operation alive, part of your operation is operational. Then is really up to you and up to the situation of the company if you are able to get into the tactical and strategic discussions. And very often it's not connected really to solid structures of the company, but it's connected to the actions that you are willing to take. And what I would recommend to many COEs of the first type is to really look into what they have, what use cases they have, and start looking into how the use cases can work in between each other. Because business side, whatever team, sales, finance, marketing, they have very limited view on the situation of the company, and they have very limited view on what data are available either within system or within company. And you can start really do these connections to everyone, and you can start inserting yourself as a strong business partner, because at the end of the day you are a business partner, and you can start proposing new and more interesting things. And in this moment you can probably measure your impact in two ways. One is a little bit more esoteric, and it's you will see how you are shaping the company and how you are shaping the changes. And the second thing is you can measure how you are changing, for example, the quality of the outputs thanks to information that you are able to add. You can see and you can measure if the forecast is a little bit better because you are able to add some things, add some macro data from other parts of the business. Or you can start measure if you, thanks to the set of the information that you automized, you saved some manual steps. And you can measure at the end of the day almost everything. Important is for everyone to measure things that are really doing impact, and for every organization it's something else, but you have to be sure that you are comparing yourself to some situation.
And let's close this practically. If someone is listening, is leading a center of excellence and owns planning today, what's one thing they should stop doing this year in order to become a more business partner rather than IT ticket approver?
That's a very good question. Like our consulting past is, it depends. But
I don't want it depends answer.
But what you should stop doing, really stop doing, you should stop if you are positioned within the function that is perceived in this moment as not as strong as you think. You should stop positioning yourself as that function, and you should start working towards the way how to towards the value. And you should start looking around yourself. You should start study. You should start looking into the plethora of information that are available in your company or globally, and you should start thinking about how can I bring these functionalities, these effects to my company. It's not really about stopping doing something. In some cases, you cannot. But it's about starting doing things that are bringing much higher value. And whatever stage you are as a company at and as a center of excellence at, you can always bring more value.
Now, let's talk about how planning evolved. You stepped into your current role back in 2020. Now we're recording this in Jan 26. 2030 is just behind the corner. If you have a look what has changed and what has remained the same, how would you describe in 3 key points?
When I look into the situation of 2020, I'm working with Anaplan ever since probably 2017 and in planning environment ever since 2010. What changed really is, and what is changing all the time, is the necessity to get information much quicker and to get information in much bigger detail and bigger volume. That is changing continuously, and that is creating like additional data points. I think that if this wouldn't be possible, we would be still living in the world that started with Excel somewhere in the 80s or 90s and is surviving still because you would be able to basically massage data in a way you want. So the first thing that is started to change already in 2010s and is felt more and more is availability of the data, depth of the decision, and quickness of the business change. And not only in FMCG sector or electronic sector or IT sector, but as well it's starting to be seen in the medtech because products are actually developed a little bit quicker, information are available quicker, and you have to work with more variability. So
now, with all the better tools, with greater volume of data, with more precise forecast, why do we still need so many meetings?
I think this is
What drives that we still need these meetings?
at the end of the day, business is done between people and not between systems. And when we do our work and we do it individually and we do whatever planning we need and we do all these mental exercises within planning tools now, in some cases, not in many cases still, but in some cases infused by AI, you get into the certain situation and you see certain future as a possibility of the future reality. But even if you will do it in any system, it's your viewpoint and your own interpretation of the data and your own interpretation of the situation. And we have to have these meetings to make sure that everyone's viewpoints are actually aligned in some way. Because if someone will see number 100,000, contextually, it will be for him very good information. For other person, it will be very bad information. And for someone else, it will be signal that trend is going up. And for someone, it's signal that there is a risk that something will go down.
Mm-hmm.
And with all these tools, we have to spend much less time creating these 100,000 through calculation and much more time in decision what this information mean, how we can gather behind this information, and how can we really push our future through this information.
Now that you refer to the future, I'd like to ask about with all the investment that is flowing into technology, artificial intelligence. There are literally Anaplan has introduced the Anaplan CoE Leader that can create working models out of plain text. Of course, it's early stage, but this is where the environment is evolving. Now, this will have a tremendous impact on the skills that are needed. How now you got, I don't know how many people are there in your center of excellence, but I'm quite sure you need to prepare them to make sure that they have the right skill set so that they will also thrive, not just today but also in 2030. How do you work with your people? How do you make sure their skills are up to date in this changing environment?
This is something what is super tricky, and for us, past year was extremely difficult. I would say the most of the learning in past year was kind of on-the-job learning and testing things how you go. We and most of the other companies, we have to look into this in much more standardized way for the future. We as a people, we have troubles when we are talking to AI and working with AI to really contextualize our decisions and even contextualize what the sentences mean, for example, for your ChatGPT or whatever. And this is something what we will have to learn, and I think most of the people will have to start thinking about the modeling on much higher level and much more as architects with some endpoint in their mind than they are possibly looking into the description of the use case right now. Right now, very often, thanks to the way how model is built, you have all the start with the end, go to the beginning. Basically, you have kind of mantra how to do it even in AI. But for most of the people, even skilled model builders that I saw and skilled architects, it's hard to describe how they are getting to this idea. So this year and the future years for my people and probably many other people, it will be how to really think in the concepts of the architects, how to describe what they want to achieve, and how to understand how this will be actually translated. And this is something what will be evolving very quickly, and we will have to assign more and more time to this, and it will be really difficult, and it will be skill that will in not so far away future, we are not talking about 5 years, we are talking probably about 1 or 2 years, will really change who is great, who is good, and who is average in what they will be doing.
Yeah, I think upskilling is no longer optional, right?
Yeah.
The skills, they outdate really quickly. And one thing is, if you're an Anaplan practitioner, one thing is what your leader tells you to do, and second is having the ownership of your career and identify which skills will be needed, identify where I want to steer my career, because if you don't do that, someone else will decide for you, right?
Absolutely. Like we are not living anymore in the world where you finished university, you got on the paper all the skills that you needed, and you were able to spend 40 years in a work where you were improving gradually. Right now, the information are flowing in such a rapid speed that it's not easy to comprehend, and you have to really work consciously in your own profession to be sure that you understand not only what is changing, but probably much more profoundly, if something is changing, what is the impact and how it will impact the way how we are thinking about the use case. The fact that some technological feature is there is nice, but it's only feature up until the moment you will create out of it living and breathing product for a customer.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone needs to stay on top of all the advancements and really be proactive about learning and skill development more than ever. A quick one to finish. I'll give you a statement and you answer plan or die. Short explanation after that. First one, keeping Excel planning in parallel with Anaplan. Plan or die.
Die.
Approving new Anaplan use cases without killing an old one.
Die.
And final one, letting business own the model logic without center of excellence governance.
Hard to say. I would say die as well.
I wouldn't expect anything else from a center of excellence leader.
Yeah, I was thinking it will be definitely sounding biased, but what I think is really business can end up a little bit in the siloed situation, and if you will keep honing only a logic without the broader perspective, how it's working in the rest of the environment, it can bring the value to few of the bees, but it can bring a lot of issues to the rest of the hive.
Yes. I've seen brilliant business ideas with terrible execution, mostly because of lack of IT governance. So I'm with you on this one. Jiri, thanks for sharing your experience so openly. If one idea from today sticks, reach out. And this was Plan or Die.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a real pleasure.